Today in the crypto space, we see a bit of a dip. Bitcoin down approximately 2.5% and Ethereum down approximately 2%. The rest of the crypto space, the altcoins, are pretty much mixed. However, there's some good dips. Look at Solana, AVAX, and a few others. In today's video, I want to talk about the general market. I want to use Bitcoin as a leading indicator, but more importantly, I want to talk about one altcoin, one project that it has retraced and is currently looking for that bounce, and that project is called REALIO. So you know what? Let's talk about the news, let's analyze the charts, and let's strategize to capitalize. Welcome to the channel. My name is Mike, and let's get right into it. Guys, if you're new to the channel, welcome. On the channel, we talk about cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, Ethereum, all the altcoins, looking for opportunities. Whether we go up or down, bearish or bullish, it doesn't matter. All we want to do is stay one step ahead of the market so that we can capitalize on any of the volatility. And if you appreciate that strategy, subscribe to the channel, click that bell so you don't miss out on any of my future videos, including the live streams at 7:30 Eastern, where we talk about crypto news and price action. Guys, if you have any projects you want me to cover here on the channel, feel free to let me know in the comment section below. You can hit me up on those socials. The links are in the description. Better yet, guys, join the Discord. The Discord is where it's at. Lots of good alpha, trade set of fundamentals, and learning material. All right, guys, let's begin. Let's see what's going on here with this general market first. Then we'll jump into the Bitcoin chart. And of course, today's video is all about RIO. I want to look at RIO. What is going on with RIO in the last little while? Is this an opportunity? That is the question. All right, guys, let's begin. Bitcoin taking a bit of a dip here, guys. We are anticipating a bit of negativity here for Bitcoin, but Bitcoin is still within range. Just because it fell a little bit, we got to understand that Bitcoin is still consolidating within range. No structural break just yet. No confirmed lower lows, not even in the lower time frames just yet. So what we really want to do is just be patient for Bitcoin and ultimately give Ethereum its moment to run. Right now, Bitcoin is down approximately 2.2%, and so is Ethereum, but Ethereum is looking for that breakout. Ethereum is looking for that bullish move to the upside, and I know a lot of us that are in altcoins are waiting for Ethereum to actually wake up. And the good news is Solana. Look at Solana now is top 4, running up, taking that market cap, looking very, very healthy, looking for that top spot, beating BNB. But look at BNB today. BNB is up 11%, which is very, very healthy. And then we can understand why that the BNB ecosystem currently is doing very well. If you look at PancakeSwap, the leading swap for Binance or for the BNB token, at the end of the day is looking really, really good. So ultimately, guys, the market is still bullish with some regards. Okay, we got to understand that some of the altcoins that have been running up in the last little while are in the retracement mode, while some others that have been a bit quiet, patiently waiting, are finally getting their moment. So let's continue looking down here. Solana's coming down 7%, guys. Absolutely healthy, absolutely normal. Is up, to about $113 as we speak. This thing is crazy. My positions are almost 10x. So based on my entries, I'm almost at 10x with my entire bag of Solana. So that's a measurement for me that there's a lot of market participants that are really, really healthy right now with regards to green bags. Binance doing very well, and if we keep on going down, Cardano's going sideways, which is absolutely a healthy option here. AVAX coming down slightly, but of course, after a run that AVAX had, a bit of a pullback is absolutely normal and expected. And you can see that generally speaking, there is a bit of red throughout the market, but nothing crazy. Uniswap, 6% to the upside. This should be based off of both the Binance, because you can swap Binance tokens, BNB tokens, and also Ethereum. Ethereum is not waking up really crazy just yet, but BNB is. So this is a really good thing to see as an indication. We have Cosmos ecosystem, a very hot ecosystem lately, but the token itself, the coin itself is not doing that well. And that's because a lot of the layer ones that are built on the Cosmos ecosystem are basically not using Cosmos as any utility. They're not using it as gas or anything like that. So the reality is that there's going to be a bit of a damper on the price in the long term. So I don't know what's going on there with Cosmos, how they're going to keep the price trekking to the upside, but definitely what a great ecosystem currently. A lot of interest. Near Protocol grinding to the upside, guys. Again, total of 81% to the upside. Really, really good, guys. I'm really happy with my entries on my layer ones, particularly Near Protocol. I went in heavy on your protocol. That was one of my larger bags that I built during the previous dips. And for me, that was a smart thing to do because it gave me the stability not to have to worry about, volatility. But at the end of the day, being patient definitely gave me a nice 81% in 7 days. So for me, I'm very, very happy with that. Slow and steady wins the race, obviously. But then again, I also like the volatility in some of the altcoins. So, on the lower caps, we have a lot of them have been running. But here in the top 100, we're waiting for HBAR to do its thing. IMX ran up already, maybe getting its pullback, finally a bit of a retracement. VeChain, not really too crazy just yet. We want VeChain to get its impulsive move. It is up 15%, but nothing too volatile just yet. Quant has been doing okay. Quant blasted right through its $100 mark. Finally, nice and bullish. We were very patient with Quant, and as it was dipping down, that was the time to start DCAing. When it was at that $100 level, slightly even below, that was the time to take risk. Right now at about 150, guys, it tells me that it's either you are up, with some good gains, or you should be trailing up a stop loss just in case it decides to come back down. So Quant at the current moment is looking healthy. Stacks going sideways based on Bitcoin's narrative going sideways. Algorand didn't get its moment, in my opinion, just yet. We want Algorand to fly, but at the moment, Algorand is still going sideways, finding its catalyst. Render still looking bullish. At the end of the day, Render, my bags of Render are good, are healthy. If you're waiting on the sidelines, in my opinion, right now is not the greatest time to get into Render. Render has been doing well. It hasn't really got a major retracement for a good while. It doesn't mean that it's going to happen, but right now it could be that it's a bit top heavy. So be careful here, becoming exit liquidity. I like Render, but there are other projects within the same narrative that offer a very similar value proposition, if not more bullish, based on decentralization and other aspects that you could get into at a lower market cap with a lot of room to grow and basically attract some of the total market cap of the crypto space. So keep that in mind. You don't want to if you want volatility, you got to get into lower cap projects nonetheless. Okay, so the graph is grinding nice and slowly, guys. I like the graph, and there's other projects like Thorchain. When they move, the graph is another one, and there are many projects that are like that when they move. Zilliqa is another one. When they run, they really blast off. So be careful here, guys. If you're interested in some of those sleeping giants that haven't really moved, it's time to potentially look for good entries. BitTensor Tau getting a bit of a retracement here, but 13% to the 1.3% to the upside. It's looking okay, maybe looking for a bit of a bounce in the immediate short term. But again, I'm waiting for BitTensor Tau to hit some support before I get in bullish again. My entries are great on BitTensor Tau. Basically bought the bottom. However, I don't want to ruin that by buying too much at a high price. So I'm going to wait. If I miss out, it's okay. My bags are still packed from lower levels. Phantom slowly grind to the upside. Very patient there. So I'm glad to see the Phantom ecosystem waking up. Ordies are doing pretty good in the last little while. Of course, I'm not crazy about the narrative, but so be it. If there's gains to be made, we got to be bullish and we got to be supportive. So Ordies is doing pretty good. Congrats if you were able to get in at the entry or at the beginning of this whole narrative. And if we continue going down, you can see a lot of the altcoins pretty much, some of them up, some of them down. Osmos is doing okay based on the Atom or Cosmos ecosystem doing okay. KuCoin going sideways. SEI still grinding to the upside, looking pretty good. Gala getting a pullback, but we'll see if Gala is going to make a nice comeback. Helium pulled back and now kind of going sideways. Is this the time to get in? Beam is also looking pretty juicy at this level. And PancakeSwap, this is what I was talking about. PancakeSwap currently is at about 63% of gains in the last 7 days. This is something that we got to address, is that PancakeSwap was at about $40 in the previous bull run. So technically you still have a 10x, but don't knock it. This thing came up from about $1 something. So the reality is you already in some good profits if you were able to buy the bottom and DC at the bottom. And PancakeSwap at the end of the day has a lot of those degen projects, a lot of those meme coins, low gas fees. and this a very nostalgic place for people in the previous bull run, DeFi summer, and looking for those meme coins, as an alternative to Uniswap. So I still feel like PancakeSwap in the Binance ecosystem, the BNB chain, should do very, very well, and we're certainly getting a bit of proof of life in that ecosystem today. So that's pretty good for BNB and all BNB stakeholders. At the end of the day, right now is a time to see a bit of green. Sui looking okay, grinding to the upside 11%, which is nice, and we have FET running up pretty good. AI narrative kind of died down just a little bit, kind of found its bottom perhaps, and now we have to start looking for more opportunities. What else do we have here? That's pretty much it. Rose looking good, climbing up to the top 100, Oasis, and that's about it, guys. Ultimately, the market is still okay. Yes, we're getting a bit of pullbacks. Yes, we can be seeing a further continuation to the downside. But in the immediate short term, we are seeing evidence that some altcoins based on very bullish narratives are still running to the upside. So ultimately, guys, pay attention. Make sure that if you get entries around this moment, what you really need to do is come up with your defensive strategy right away, just in case those projects decide to come down based off of Bitcoin's lead. All right, guys, let's take a look at this. What's going on here with these charts? We definitely want to take a look at Bitcoin as a leading indicator. Currently, Bitcoin kind of rolling over here. It did break out nicely, and I'm going to zoom out in a second here. Let's kind of see what's going on here for a bit and see that ultimately, Bitcoin is doing very well. Bitcoin is doing very well. It's holding up. That's all we really want at this current moment. Now, yes, ultimately, I'm expecting a bit of a pullback. And my targets are at about 30,000, 33 to about 30K, right around this area. And then at the bearish case is that we come down to about 25K, come down, maybe get a dead cat bounce, maybe form some sort of pattern in this area. That would be great. Just based on the fact that we have a lot of supply and demand in the zone, means that we might want to come down and hunt some liquidity at these levels. And we have the 200 EMA on the weekly right here, and it's just a decent area to consider. DCA a little bit into here at 30K, and DCA a little bit more at about 25K. That's what I'm just saying here, guys. We got to be prepared for the worst case scenario and hope for the best, because ultimately you don't want to be blindsided just in case Bitcoin comes down to those bearish price targets, right? We don't have any way of telling the future, but we can prepare for all possible opportunities that the future may hold. So that's the best strategy, to always have both sides of the coin, no pun intended there, but both sides of the coins covered just in case it does return to those lower levels. Okay, so the weekly right now is definitely overbought. The MACD, the EMAs are looking for a cross, but still too early to tell at the current moment. So we got to give it a bit of patience. If we get the EMA cross to the downside, it's in the bullish control zone, so we're okay on the weekly. But as soon as we get to the daily, you can see that the Class A bearish divergence is still intact. No real confirmations of any of that. Now, do we get another impulsive move and reach that 45K level and get another impulsive move from Bitcoin, sweep the highs, all those shorts get liquidated, get another impulsive move to the upside, and then finally maybe that's the event where we see the blow off top or some sort of quick rejection where we start heading down and rolling over to lower levels. Okay, so that's what I'm really preparing for, just in case, because we got to keep in mind that Bitcoin is up approximately 180% from its bottom. It's healthy right now for it to get a bit of a retracement. Wherever it lands, we'll wait for momentum to get fully oversold. We'll look for bullish divergences, good support levels, and then we'll start DCAing. Right now, it's way too early to really start DCAing. In my opinion, based on the daily, we're not even oversold. We didn't even really comfortably reach the chop zone at the 50% mark of the RSI. So for me, there's no real trade happening here. And even in on the 4 hour and lower time frames, you can see we got a bit of bullish divergence. We kind of got the run to the upside, got quick rejection at previous highs, and it looks like we're coming down for lower levels to see if we get a confirmation low or something like that. And that might be our last opportunity to get in a short-term long on Bitcoin. However, guys, I am not going long on Bitcoin. I'm going to be using Bitcoin as an indicator for when I should be going long on alts. And alts currently have been retracing. Alts, some of them, not all of them, Some of them have been retracing and are at good levels of potential support based on the fact that Bitcoin could be backtesting this based on the 4-hour, coming back up, coming at this level on the RSI. And if you can see the RSI trying to get here again and get some sort of confirmation backtest on this momentum, and then finally seeing Bitcoin potentially reach that 45K and go for that impulsive move. If that happens, we're going to see altcoins run, and we may see Ethereum run, carrying the altcoins to higher levels. Okay, guys, so that's what we'd be waiting for. Ultimately, stop losses have to be put in, because at any moment Bitcoin could be using this M pattern as a potential dip, and we start getting back right into this consolidation or this upward sloping channel, which would be very bearish, and again coming down to about 30K, give or take 33, 30K, 31. Right around this area is where I'm interested in seeing what type of reaction we get on the charts. Okay, so that's my take on Bitcoin. Very defensive at the current moment, expecting Bitcoin to continue going sideways and maybe get into that distribution right here where altcoins could take full advantage of Bitcoin's boring price action going sideways. All right, guys, let's begin. Let's take a look at the project for today. And of course, today is all about RIO. The reason why I want to talk about RIO is exactly this. Look at it. Okay, the chart looks great. Now, obviously, it's not the best entry, because the best entry was right here in accumulation. And you can see that based on the previous price action, this was the zone where you wanted to take a bit of risk. You can see a lot of market participation here, building positions, you know, a lot of volume. Point of control is right here. DCA, green arrows, green arrows, green arrows. Bit of take profit based on this buy order. Come back down, buy the dip, yellow box. All of the things that I use here on the channel to indicate this is the time to take risk. Now, of course, it's all about your risk tolerance, how much you get in, how much do you put in your bag is all up to you. It's all up to your individual trading strategy. But ultimately, the time to take risk is not at the tops. The time to take risk is at the bottom. And calculate your risk based on risk to reward. At these levels, the reward was really good, because ultimately, if we get that bounce, even at previous highs, you take a bit of profits and you're in some good gains. But look at how high we went. After this, that was, don't knock it, it's 138% from that zone, that DCA zone. Now we're up approximately 300%. Okay, 300%. And the potential to potentially get at the top was much higher, obviously, probably about 400%. But timing the tops and the bottoms are very difficult, guys. It's very, very difficult. It's borderline, let's say, luck. Okay, so there's a bit of skill involved, of course, but timing and getting the absolute top is luck. It's all about luck, and DCing in, DCing out kind of helps you get better odds as timing the tops and the bottoms as best as you can. So DCing, accumulating a position, potential resistance. But right now, we're at potential support. Let's look at why. Ultimately, we have a high right here that I want to be very clear about, that we've seen previous price action, you know, basically respect. Okay, it respected it. Now we've seen this nice retracement. We see a nice volume gap into here, right? I like the volume gaps because they define good levels of horizontal support or even resistance. Okay, so for me, that's great. Now, if we continue in this view where we're very zoomed out, and we kind of make this a little bit better, and we get this and we put it down here so we can see our whole range, you can see that currently we're at the 0.5 Fibonacci. Okay, that's not bad of a scenario, but not really statistically a place where a lot of individuals, you know, look at it as a good buy opportunity. The golden pocket 618 is the zone. That's the zone where, statistically speaking, the price action should get a bit of support. So let's reuse this arrow and let's make it green. This is the golden pocket 618. You can see that right here. Okay, and we'll make this a green zone, right? Because ultimately there's a bit of confluence. If you look at the previous high, we're very close. We got this cluster of, you know, jitter that could act as support. And ultimately, if we look at the volume gap, yes, there is a bit of an indent here, and you can see how the market is totally reacting at this spot very, very nicely. It may be the case that it may not hold up as support. So this is why DCAing is great, because it's all about probability, statistical probability, and the probability of it holding here is definitely high. but coming down to the golden pocket is also somewhere that we need to contend with. We need to keep that into our strategy because golden pocket, again, statistically should hold up, and looking at previous price action based on support, a lot of this, and the volume profile all the way down here is probably where we get the majority of the support. So you can see that there's not so much clarity here, but look at this retracement. Nice A, B, C retracement right into this horizontal support, previous high, and good indication by the volume profile here to suggest that we could be in a good DCA opportunity. Let's look at the daily quickly, just get bigger time frames for a second so that we can kind of make sense of all of this. It does look really nice. Look at that, right? And you got to admit that ultimately we pick up a bit of volume, but this is where things start to really pick up, right about 32 cents. And here, right within this volume gap, I'm expecting some sort of reaction, even if it's a retracement, a bit of a dead cat bounce where we come back up and then maybe come down lower. But on the dead cat bounce, it gives you an opportunity to put in a stop loss, trail it up, put it into some profits, and you never know. It might not be a dead cat bounce. In fact, it might be a double top, higher high, whatever the case is. It might be just this retracement might be done. And that's the thing, guys. You want to get a bit of exposure into the market bit by bit. So ultimately, you have some skin in the game just in case it gets a run. But in case it does come down for another dip or further continuation down, at least you have some capital to deploy at lower levels to DCA and bring your average cost down. Golden pocket, look at the 200 daily EMA slowly coming up, which is very nice. I like when I see the 200 EMA kind of coming up and acting as confluence. Very likely that we see the 200 daily kind of roll over like that and go sideways as the price action consolidates here. Does one of these, who knows how long, obviously that doesn't matter. We get some reactions, confirmations, and that's the next thing that I want to talk about is what kind of confirmations we need here to actually get bullish, because ultimately we're in a state of retracement, no doubt, but it's a bit of a catching a falling knife scenario. We don't know where the bottom actually is going to be, because all we are getting currently in this retracement is lower lows and lower highs. We're breaking structure to the downside each time with those impulsive moves down. However, we're not changing structure by making a higher high or a higher low at any given point. So when that happens, that's our first indication, right? So right now, this is the zone. We have the golden pocket with the 200 daily. We have a slightly lower levels that we gotta admit, this is the ultimate support level. So you may want to say to yourself, look, ultimately I have a certain percentage, I have a certain amount of capital that I want to deploy, but at worst case scenario, if the market goes bearish and the market goes really, really red, this is gonna be the last line in the sand where we need to hold support. A lot of market participation is here ready to act as that support. So that's where we have a lot of the confidence to get in with that support here, maybe based on a few indications of previous highs, but based on the volume profile, not that much. In fact, I would have a little bit more confidence in this area based on the volume gaps. I've used the volume gap theory for many years and it always works out fairly decently. So for me, it's not bad. But if you look at the daily momentum, the RSI is continuing to the downside in a nice steady slope to the downside, in the sense that we're seeing the yellow line, the EMA, and the purple line basically follow each other nice and slowly without any huge deviation. What I'm trying to say here is look at the difference between this purple line and the yellow. At one point, the purple ran up and it hesitated here to wait for the yellow. In this case, it's totally opposite. The yellow's coming down slowly and so is the purple, and they're coming down together nice and slowly and comfortably, and there's no mean reversion here. There's no mean reversion that can be happening here in the short term, other than some sort of little bit of support where we get the purple line right back up there in overbought conditions, right? So the likelihood at the current moment is that the RSI might be looking for oversold conditions. That's my biggest fear. The fear of getting into a bullish stance right now is that the purple comes down and gets below the 30% mark. However, we have seen that every impulsive move to the downside has led to some early levels of support. We came here slightly oversold, but nothing great. Overbought, come down, higher low, come up, higher high, come down. Do we make a higher low right now and then come up for another impulsive move? And on this impulsive move to the upside, ultimately, it doesn't have to bring us a higher high. It could also give us a lower high. However, the price action will make a higher high. And if you think about what that is, that's class A bearish divergence. Let's see what this happened here. Let's say this comes up, this comes up, this comes up, okay, after a bit of price action, and then comes down. You can see that ultimately this high is lower than this high, which is totally fine. But if we marry that up and we look at the price action, ultimately, if the price comes up as well, based on that momentum, and we get something like this, and all of a sudden it comes up, comes up, comes up, it could even make a higher high, a double top, or even a higher high based on this scenario. Okay, and if that were to happen, we're making higher highs on the price action, lower highs on the RSI. That's class A bearish divergence. Obviously, this is very hypothetical, and the time is not accurate, and even the shape of or the placement of all of this is not accurate. But the idea is that we come up, make a higher high, and come right back down. And it's very possible that we see a class A bearish divergence because of, obviously, on the weekly, we've seen the weekly already impulse all the way to overbought conditions, and ultimately the weekly might be looking for a confirmation high on the weekly momentum, and that would give it to it. That would that daily price action that I just described would give you that weekly confirmation, whether it be a higher high, double top, lower high, whatever happens here. An impulsive move to the upside for a confirmation back testing of the highs would be really good here on the weekly, and giving us an opportunity to potentially get into a long position based on this horizontal support, and ultimately take a bit of profits, because you never know what could be happening here. We could be getting into a bigger distribution here on RIO, and maybe coming down to lower levels eventually, right? So this is the thing here. It's about getting defensive, or it's also about finding a good entry for a nice impulsive move to the upside, where you can trail up a stop loss and let the rest run to the upside in a very risk-free scenario. That's really what you're trying to do, is get an entry where you can get out of a risky territory nice and early without risking your capital, your initial investment, guys. That's very important, to protect your initial investment, and then ultimately to protect your gains, because you're here to make some profit. Now let's look at the 4-hour again. Let's keep an eye on here what's going on with the 4-hour. Let's move up a little bit. So in the short term, that's a big picture idea, right? We're looking for big picture ideas and marrying them up with what we should be doing in the short term. If this becomes a nice bullish bounce at this level, right now is not a bad time to DCA. Right now where we're at, we're okay, but you got to understand that you should be able to mentally, economically, emotionally endure a bit of a continuation to the downside. As I mentioned before, we are not getting any confirmation lows to suggest that this price action is over. We could definitely come down one more time, even make a lower low and touch the bottom of the volume gap, all right? Confluent with these previous highs, very possible. But what would be bullish is if we come down and make a higher low, right? A higher low would be good, or even a double bottom, a nice double bottom coming down to around this zone, hanging out here, and then running to the upside and making some sort of confirmation here that we are getting a divergence. So a lower low, double bottom with a higher low on the RSI will give us that confirmation that, we're ready to run. Now coming down here, double bottoming, getting that W, inverse head and shoulders, inverse cup and basically up and cup and handle, Adam and Eve pattern, any type of pattern right here to suggest that we're holding support will give you a healthy invalidation. You want a horizontal invalidation so that you can put a stop loss very tight within this consolidation zone. Okay, because ultimately you want to have a risk reward ratio that is healthy, so that you're not taking too much risk. Let's say you enter right around this area on average, you put a stop loss right underneath the lows. If we end up consolidating here, and then your price target honestly should be very conservative, because we don't know if we're going to make a higher high or not, and you walk away like this right at that level, and it would look like a golden pocket retracement to the upside, swing high to swing low, golden pocket right around here. So you can be a little bit less, just bring it down a little bit more right around here. You're looking at about almost 3 to 1, which is not too bad. It's 2.8 to 1, which is okay. You take a bit of profits, let the rest run up to the 786, 886, trail up the stop loss, take a bit more profit, and little by little, because you never know if we actually break the previous high and start getting into price discovery again. And if that happens, a bullish move to the upside, you trail up the stop loss and take 10% off the top as you get into every impulsive move. And that way you protected your gains, and then you're protecting your initial investment, obviously, by putting that safety net of that trailing stop loss below. All right, guys, If I've offered you any value in this video, do the channel a massive favor and slap the like button. I'm going to be live tonight at 7:30 Eastern, where we talk about crypto news and price action. Guys, feel free to join that Discord. The Discord is a great community. Lots of good alpha, trade setups, fundamentals, and learning material. Take care, guys. Have a good one. And don't forget, buy the dip.